Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your hosts, Katie Comer.
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, welcome to Hope After Addiction. We're so happy that you've joined us today. How are you, friend?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. We're in the middle of summer.
It's crazy.
I know Chelsea and I don't get to see each other a lot in between. I mean, for hair stuff
Yeah.
every now and then. But we were
Yes.
just talking about how summer is going by so quick. I don't know when you're watching this. It might be in the fall.
Yeah.
But right now it's in the middle of summer and it's going by so quickly.
Yeah. I think we just skipped straight through June.
Yeah. I don't remember June. I don't even remember we had the month.
I don't think we did.
We need to go back.
Yeah.
But it's just busy. I think that this season is, it's just a
Yeah.
lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's precious, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a season.
And I'm one to want to stay busy.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked, you were
Yeah.
saying this, like trying to find stuff for the kids to do and be
Yes.
entertained
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I feel like there's wisdom in being restful and having rest days. But it's just like, I don't like hearing the word I'm bored.
I know.
I don't want to go and do stuff.
Yeah.
But somebody, I think it was my mom, was saying like, it's good for them to be bored.
It is. You know what Mom used to tell me?
What?
Only boring people get bored. So then I had
That's
I've
funny.
got to find something to do.
I know.
But it was such good wisdom. But it is. They say it's so good to be bored, which is a lesson for us adults as well.
Yeah, but I don't like to be bored either.
Yeah.
So I like to go. Go. What kind of memberships can I get? Where can we go
Yeah.
to make it
Yeah.
worth it?
That's
But
right.
no, it's crazy.
fun.
It's just so fast paced right now. But that's okay.
Yeah, it's good.
That's
yeah.
good.
It's a good chaos, I call it.
Good chaos.
Always.
Well, we have a couple more podcasts to do on our series, our mini series of
Yeah.
forgiveness. Forgiveness is such, it's so deep in so many different ways. Like you can look at it from so many different angles that as we were looking at it, Chelsea would message me saying, hey, what about this side of forgiveness? And what about this? Because her story is different than my story, and this is something she's dealt with. And it's very interesting to kind of research it, even from a perspective if I've never really
Yeah.
experienced it, but seeing maybe what she's gone through and giving some advice if you've gone through it. So for this episode specifically, we're going to look at forgiveness at the angle if you've never gotten the apology that you're wanting, but you're still needing to forgive them. What does the Bible say about that? What does God say about forgiving somebody if they've never offered an apology? And I know Chelsea's story and her testimony, you've heard it several times now, has that in her life. And it was interesting for me to kind of dig in a little bit about what the word says about that and why we still need to offer that forgiveness
Yeah.
and why it's healthy. So.
Yeah. It's so good. And I think for all of us, I don't care if it's the smallest issue or the largest, but we all have this, we have a fairy tale image of what we want forgiveness to look like, and that this apology must happen for this restoration to happen. But so often that's not what it looks like. And so if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, that forgiveness is between you and Jesus. It's not between you and the other person. So it's for you, it's for your heart, it's for your healing, and it's for your freedom. And so one of the things I'm always reminded of is forgiveness doesn't always look, I should say an apology doesn't always look the way that we think it should. And I'm sorry doesn't always look the way we think it should. Sometimes those words, I'm sorry, will never come out of their mouth, but their actions will show you, their behaviors will show you, their life change will show you, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's a complete just break of a relationship and it's not there. And so that's when you have to walk into forgiveness and without an apology for your well-being.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, I mean the Bible is very clear about forgiveness, and
Very.
it doesn't mention the other person saying I'm sorry. It doesn't. I mean, it's always Christ did this for you, and He was forgiving people as they beat Him.
Yep.
I mean, obviously,
I think he is the epitome of this.
of Christ is the epitome of somebody forgiving people without a remorse in their body.
What if you want to take it deeper on that?
Yeah.
How often in a day do we sin against God? And do we go back and say, God, I am so sorry for that?
And he's like, I've already forgiven it. He's already forgiven.
Yep.
And so for us to look at it in our life, if I were to have somebody in my life, I mean, it's easy enough for me to say, but I feel like I always have to go back to what the word says. And in Ephesians 4:32, I mean, there's tons of stuff about God forgiving, right? But this one's jumped out. It says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you. So it's a command. It's not a suggestion that we forgive. And so being aware, now we'll talk more about how do we do that? Like, Chelsea, how did you do that when he never offered that? I'm sorry. How did you do that? We'll talk more about how to practically do that.
Yep, the
as well.
application. Yeah. And I think just as that verse, forgiveness without an apology requires a shifting of focus. To go back, just as that verse said, to go back to how many times have I sinned as a human? How many times has God forgiven me? And you literally have to shift your focus, shift your outlook back to it's for my healing. It's not for the relationship with them. Sometimes it is, but often while we cover this, the ones that are drawn to this topic, there probably hasn't been an apology. And so you have to kind of bring it back to you and your healing and your focus towards God, not the offense, if that makes sense. Because if we keep our eyes so peeled on the offense, we can never walk fully into the freedom that God's given us with forgiveness.
Yeah. I have something here that was interesting. It says, forgiveness frees you emotionally and spiritually. It's not about letting them off the hook for what they've done. And so a lot of people listening to the podcast have addiction backgrounds, and people have really hurt you, maybe over and over and over. So it's not about letting them off the hook for what they've done in the past. It's about placing them into God's hands. And so the act of forgiving somebody is about what Chelsea said, about you and God, and you kind of doing this. God, you got them. They're yours.
That, and like Kay said, that is the biggest takeaway, is it's God's. It's God's to handle. It's God's to redeem or not redeem. It's God's to teach them, and whatever offense that they've done, it's God to work in their lives. It's not us. And when I was talking to Katie earlier, thinking back, that conversation I had with my father, it'd been like 26 years. And the first conversation, the only conversation, it's about 30 minutes. And I let him talk a lot just about life and just his version, his story. And at the end, I was able to say, I forgive you for everything. And the one thing he said back was, I don't deserve forgiveness. And I said, everybody does. But, I was thinking in that 30-minute conversation, I never got an apology. I never got an I'm sorry. But the cool thing, and what Katie just talked about, I had already entered into forgiveness. I had already forgiven him. So there wasn't even more offense to happen because I was okay without him saying, I'm sorry. Now, I will say from that conversation, and we'll talk about this a little more in application, but God had given me a heart to see my father the way that he did. So through that conversation, even though I didn't get an I'm sorry, I got I hate myself for the decisions that I've made in my life and what I've done. And so that's why I go to, you may never get that I'm sorry. Verbally say, look you in the face, I am so sorry.
What you're wanting.
Yes, what you're wanting.
Yeah, you want
ultimately,
that.
That's what we all want. I'm so sorry that I abandoned you. I'm so sorry that you've lived without a father for all these years. But God, he redeems this for our story and for our purpose outside of the offense, outside of the human that has hurt you. And that's what we want to focus on and remind you of today. You don't need that person to walk into freedom. You don't need that I'm sorry to walk into freedom, because it is between you and God.
So let me ask you this. For somebody who has not offered that apology, that I'm sorry, how do you go about, I was just reading this in my notes, but forgiveness doesn't mean you're trusting them again, and you have to set those boundaries. So for you, how did you split the two? Like, how did you say, okay, well, and I know your situation with your dad is a little different, but like, how did you enter into that phase of, I forgive them, but yet I'm still going to hold that boundary towards, like, whether it be your father, whether it be your son, whether it be your daughter who's entering into this. How do you say, I forgive you, but I'm still creating this space, this boundary? It doesn't mean I'm trusting you again.
Right.
It's two different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
How did you go about
I
doing
think
that?
for me, it was 100% transparency and communication, which you talk about a lot. But the first conversation, and actually John had spoken to him first, but I said, I don't know what I want out of this. Because at that point, after 26 years, I didn't know the man that he had become.
Yeah.
And, trust is earned. And we're going to get into that in a future episode. So listen to that. But it is something that is earned. And just as Katie mentioned, the boundaries, I had to, from the very beginning, put that into place. Because a lot of times when somebody hears, let's go to this, let's say you approach your offense person. When you say, I've forgiven you, they immediately think,
back in their
we're
graces.
back in the graces. We're back in a relationship. We're back to friends, to whatever it may be.
That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying, because sometimes there has not been repentance. There has not been a life change. And so I think the biggest thing, and I know for me, were boundaries, were 100% transparency, communication. And I know it was hard for me because I'm not the most, I'm a people pleaser and I don't want to hurt people. So after talking to my father and me saying face to face to him, I don't know if I want a relationship with you. I felt that may have hurt him, but that's not what it was about. It was about my healing, walking into freedom for forgiveness. And so I think if you have a situation like this, being very honest and transparent from the beginning. This forgiveness is for me. This is for my freedom, for my relationship with the Lord. Because if you don't have this, like we said on the last few podcasts, there will forever be a wedge between you and God if you are holding on to unforgiveness. He's commanded us of that when it comes to forgiveness.
So how did you forgive him? So let's talk about application.
Yes.
How did you get to that place of, truly, how did you get to that place of saying, after so many years, truly in my heart, I forgive you?
I've actually thought about that. Like, how do you get there? Because it's one of the hardest. And we deal with women and people, and even in my career for 20 years, of the unthinkable.
Yeah.
Like the unthinkable offense that's happened to them. And I 100% God. I could not have forgiven the way that I did with 100% freedom without God. But I will say this, one of my greatest prayers and realizations from forgiving him without his story in my life was asking God to let me see him the way that he sees him.
It's beautiful.
And let me tell you, did he? I mean, it is the compassion I felt for him, even in the life that he was living. But what I felt for him, because I had forgiven, was heartache, was pain, where it went from full anger and bitterness to this man, and like a offensive heart. Like, I was so offended that he did this to me. God changed my heart to realize, like, this man is so broken. What has he lived in for 26 years, knowing he has a daughter and a son that he has nothing to do with? What if Christmases and birthdays looked like for him? And God was able to turn that around to see his perspective through God's eyes, not just my pains and my hurts, but see, that's what forgiveness does. It erases, it takes that pain. You still have feelings and emotions, but when you've entered into ultimate forgiveness, those feelings, they truly are gone. They're gone. And I don't say that sitting here high, like God did that in my heart. Because ask any person, Father's Days for all those years, I hated. I cried every Father's Day. But God can do it, and he will do it if you enter into that with him. Ask him that. The other thing is take every thought captive. Like, when you're in the season of forgiveness with somebody that hasn't necessarily apologized, take every thought captive. When you go to the bitterness towards them, bring the thought back to you. Like, I have to do this for my well-being. This is for me and Jesus, so that I can walk free and clear in a relationship with Christ. And bring those thoughts back. Because if you sit and wallow in everything that's been done, any kind of abuse, whatever it may be, you'll stay there.
Yeah.
And so it is a repetitive, take every thought captive when the offense, when the memories, because you want to know who's going to hold you back, the enemy. And when those thoughts come, take the thoughts captive. When those memories come, take the thoughts captive. When those images come, take the thoughts captive. And over time, those images will flee. So
I love that.
that's my
it's
best
beautiful.
stuff.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's about being honest with your feelings and being honest with God. God already knows your heart. He already knows your bitterness. He already knows what you're going through internally and what you're struggling with your loved one.
Yeah.
He already knows what that person's put you through. He knows it.
Yeah.
And there's something so freeing about just being like saying it out loud to God. Like, God, I do not want to forgive them,
Yeah.
but you've commanded me to. Help me get to that point. You're not even saying that might just be a starting point for you. If you're thinking of that person and you've not forgiven them, that might just be a starting point for you. What's the next right step for you?
Yeah.
Is it just praying to God, saying, God, help me get to the point of forgiveness? I'm not there yet. And you know I'm not there yet. But show me where, illuminate where I can begin to let this go. And like Chelsea said, show me where the compassion towards my father. Show me what you see in him.
Yeah.
So show me that. And so I think it's just so freeing and just a good reminder for our listeners. Just be honest with them.
Yeah.
Take it one step at a time. And it might be a process. It might not be a one time overnight, I forgive you. It might be a process to get there. But just be honest with God. Say, hey, I feel like I'm getting there, God. I'm not all the way there. Show me where I'm lacking in this. Release this bitterness. Help me get there.
Absolutely.
So good.
Because there's so much we can't see, and he can.
Yeah. Well, we hope you felt encouraged. Do you have anything else?
I think that's it.
We hope you felt encouraged today. I know there's a lot of people out there that might even have the same testimony as Chelsea's, and they've really struggled. And for them to hear what she's gone through, what you've gone through, and be able to shed light on that and how you got to that place, I just think it's so beautiful. And that's why we're here, to share our stories and how God's got us through it. And so we hope you felt encouraged today. I think we're going to wrap up our forgiveness series next week or in a couple weeks when you see this get released. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a blessed day. Bye.